Greetings interwebs, it's Jacket K, and welcome for another edition of Game N Chill. I'm still recovering from a bit of a cold or something that I picked up around Christmas. So, don't mind the post commentary. I feel like I'm overall doing better, but it's still a bit of a strain at times for me to talk for long periods of time, especially for commentary. So I figured I'd just stick to post commentary, that way if I need to pause and take a break, and I can just piecemeal the commentary to eventually get it done, compared to trying to do it all in one sitting in a live recording. Plus, it comes with the added perk of being able to easily cut out coughing, throat clearing, and anything of the like. The bad news might already be apparent. I'm not planning on doing any more recording sessions, at least major recording sessions, or live streams, until I get better. I'm using this Game N Chill and some other post commentary as a test of if I feel up to getting back into the swing of things. And while I feel I'll eventually be able to finish up this Game N Chill, hey, quick thing I want to add to this video. Technically this is a re-upload because YouTube didn't like some of the stuff I talked in here, so I figured just to be on the safe side, I just cut it out everything I figured YouTube wouldn't like me saying, as well as some stuff that I was thinking about. I was on the fence of cutting out anyway because it felt a little too personal to me, at least for now. Okay, back to your regularly scheduled, slightly older post commentary. The good news is that I at least had enough of a backlog to fill out this month, even if it's just random battle bingo videos and other stuff that I was initially planning on uploading as extras. No idea what I'm gonna do for February though, considering I've pretty much been off from recording and streaming for 2 weeks, and probably going on 3 at this rate. Honestly, even before the illness, I was on the fence, on the edge of taking a break from uploads, so this might just be the pushing force. I'm gonna give it until we actually get to February to ultimately decide on that though. So the upload schedule for this month is gonna go Lost Age Randomizer every Tuesday, Pokemon XG every Thursday, until we reach February, and then we'll see. And then I guess there's always, like, I've been keeping up with YouTube Shorts on Sundays, and no reason to not keep doing that. I feel bad that it's so barren, but what you gonna do? It's all I have ready to go, and I can't exactly make more videos easily. I'd rather focus my energy on other things than to try to force myself to talk when my body's not feeling up to it. Cause I have a bit more VOD of the Lost Age Randomizer to edit still, but I don't really have any more Pokemon XG to edit until I record some more. Hopefully I'm near the end of this cold spur. I'm at least able to sleep soundly at night these days, which is quite an improvement from the worst of it all. On the bright side, even if I can't keep up with videos, I'm at least feeling up to doing work with things like Dawn of Jin. I've kind of just done with Sweet Expedition for a while. Slight chance of possibly being done forever. I do have ideas that I can work on if I ever get the motivation to come back to it though. I was kind of promising Hard Mode Snap, but I tried fiddling around with the code to get it to work and I just couldn't, so I haven't really had any motivation to do any more work with Paper Mario, so I think I'm just gonna focus on Golden Sun work for a while. It doesn't help that I felt like I've been burnt out on Mario RPGs as a whole for way too long, and I just don't know why, and I don't know when I'll get over it. As for the progress on Dawn of Jin, I'm pretty happy with the progress I've been making on it. I'll be honest, I don't remember where I was when I last talked about it, so I couldn't tell you exactly how much progress I've made on it. I will say that I've recently finished up the work I wanted to do with Colossal. I feel like I said that in a vlog or something already. I'm currently working my way through towards the Lumpa Fortress side mode, or side dungeon, optional dungeon. Though I think I'm gonna have to backtrack and readjust some of the previous fights, and when you get certain Jin charms, I got this feeling in my head that the game would flow a bit better if those things were adjusted and rearranged. But I have been making many alternative save files as I travel through, so it's not too... all I have to do is just load up one of those older saves and I can playtest something that I've done ages ago. It's not hard, it just makes my progress seem slower than it actually is. I still have a goal to get Dungeon done this year, and that seems like a reasonable goal because I do have an entire year, but I'm not rushing anything. I'm taking things on at my own pace. So I'll give updates when relevant, but I'm not gonna put a deadline until I know that I'm close to done. Can't really think of much else to talk about in regards to updates. I got some ideas of things I can work on for February, an alternative to doing the commentary playthroughs, if I'm still not ready to get back into the swing of recording late on in the month. But I'll keep that to myself until I'm more certain about doing it. Worst case scenario, I can just go through old videos and edit down some shorts to share and spread those throughout the month instead. But we have some time before February hits, so I got time to think of something. And I am starting to recall some things like that aren't related to commentated playthroughs that I said I would eventually do, that I could do in that vein. But I think I'm thinking a little too far ahead at this current state in time. I just figured I'd bring that up, because if you are one of the people that actually remember what I'm talking about, I just want you to know that I haven't forgotten about it. I'm just waiting before I promise anything. Now, to try to come up with a miscellaneous topic, so this actually feels like a game and chill and not just an update video. First thing that comes to mind with it being 2024 is to talk about how things have been in the previous year, but one, I already plan on talking about the games I played on a Battle Bingo video, so I don't want to be too redundant with the commentary. Two, I don't want to go too long with the video. I guess I could talk a little bit about some things I want to go into the new year with. I'm not really one for resolutions, I'm more in the mindset of setting goals when I'm able, and I'm certainly not able right now. But it does get me thinking of how earlier on in the month of December I was thinking about how long it was since I did push-ups, so every now and then I've been trying to sneak them back to my routine. And I guess if there's one fitness related goal I want to take into this year, is to learn how to finally do sit-ups. I think I used to do them when I was real young, but it's been so long, I have no strength in that portion of my body, and I can barely lift my body off the ground to do a single sit-up. I've tried a couple times and I made a little progress, but that'll be something to work towards. And no strict number or ideal, as long as I do just an alternative for me to do on days that I don't feel up to walking. Because honestly, walking is probably the most consistent form of exercise I do. I essentially walk half an hour every single day, at least. Half an hour of walking a day is a safe average, and even then it's probably lowballing. Most days I probably get like anywhere between 30 to 50 minutes on the treadmill, or several hours walking at a park. I still walk for community day events in Pokemon Go, so that gets me going anywhere from 1 to 3 hours, depending on how ambitious I am towards that particular event. Especially with all the Hisuian related events going on lately, there's even been more times beyond community day that I've been motivated to go out and walk for an event. As long as I can keep the focus on walking, I'm usually cool with it. I'd love to lose weight. The problem is I feel like I'm already doing everything that I can. I know it's not the healthiest lifestyle, but I feel like I got the physical activity in, and so that only really leaves changing my diet, and I've already made changes over the past several years, to the point that the things that I still eat and drink that may be considered unhealthy, I essentially need. Let's just leave it at that. So for now, I'm happy just keeping up what I'm already doing. Though if I do find openings to introduce any more healthy styles of either physical activity or eating, I will incorporate it. We do have the treadmill at home, and that's been a lifesaver. There's no way I'd be able to keep up with walking as consistently as I do if we didn't have the treadmill. Cause sure, actually walking outside is nice and all, but it's hard to squeeze the time to go out, drive to a park, just to do a short walk during the work week. Especially during this time of year when it gets dark before I can even punch out for the day. So instead, I usually just jump right on the treadmill after work, get it out of the way before I can get comfortable and not be motivated to do it anymore. I think a big reason why I've been able to be so consistent with the treadmill is because it allows me a good opportunity to multitask, do things that I may not otherwise do because I either don't have the energy or the ambition. A good example is a lot of my playtesting for things like Dungeon, I do on the treadmill. I'll usually update my GBA, quote unquote, with the latest edition of Dungeon and just play it. It's good for just general playing. I may need to sit down later on to test a specific fight in particular if I need to tweak little things multiple times before I feel content, but it also gives me a good excuse to just get the general feel of going from one area to another. It's also the main way I make my backup saves for playtesting later, just like playing up to each particular point that I would want to go back to later, get that save off the GBA, and store it for later use. I'll admit, lately I've just been taking the Steam Deck I have and actually playing some games. Probably the most recent game I picked up was Dicey Dungeon. I think during the holidays it was super cheap on a holiday sale, and I've been meaning to try to get into more roguelikes, but the action-oriented roguelikes seem to be too much for me, so this game's been on my mind ever since I first seen some playthroughs of it, so I figured now was the perfect time to do so. I'm still pretty early on, in the sense of I haven't played through the first round of each of the characters yet, but everything I played has been solid and fun, so I'm looking forward to more opportunities to play that game more. Though another big thing that I've been using my treadmill time for is finally trying out Pokemon Infinite Fusion. The big fan game that it seems like every Pokemon fan is talking about. Many of them even moved on past it by now, but I don't know. I was holding off on it because there was another Pokemon fan game on my mind that I was wanting to try first, but I decided to just finally give it a shot. I guess I was kind of turned off by it a little, or at least to the point where I was just content watching other people play it, is because it's a little raunchy. Like, it's got a little edge, for lack of a better way to describe it. For example, I've seen from an item randomizer that frickin' beer is in the game. There's also a moment that you have to steal, and just like all this other stuff that probably doesn't bother the average adult Pokemon fan, but just bothers me because I guess I'm morally weak or something. It just rubs me the wrong way to do this sort of stuff in a Pokemon game. I think the reason I even bring it up is I wouldn't mind the stuff in the game, especially for a fan game, if it wasn't required for 100%. I don't know if drinking is required for 100%, but I know stealing is if you want to get every single Pokemon. Which is a bit of a shame because if I take those factors out of it, it's a solid Pokemon Red remake. Like, it's not much of a stretch to say that it's the Heart Gold Soul Silver of Gen 1, just with the whole fusion thing as a bonus. Oh, this isn't really a factor in why I wasn't playing the game, but it does feel a little weird with how morally questionable Pokemon Fusion was in Black and White, and the splicers that do the fusion are literally the same exact fusion splicers from Black and White 2. I think at the end of the day, I'm willing to pull my suspension of disbelief just to be able to enjoy, because it would be really weird to play through Pokemon Infinite Fusion without being involved in the main gimmick of Pokemon Infinite Fusion, purely just for moral reasons. So I think I'm willing to put my suspension of disbelief aside just to enjoy that. Kind of like how it's just like how in Pokemon Go, technically you should purify the Shadow Pokemon because it's bad for them to stay Shadow Pokemon. But gameplay wise, it's very good to keep them Shadow Pokemon, so you just pretend that part of the game that tells you that it's bad doesn't exist. It's the same exact type of suspense of disbelief. And speaking of putting suspension of disbelief aside to actually enjoy a video game, that's why I'm actually playing it now. It'll probably just be on my own time. I don't plan on doing anything video-wise with it. But I did want to eventually see what the fuss was about Infinite Fusion. I guess part of it too was trying to figure out how I wanted to engage with it. Like, everyone I watch essentially does it randomized, so that was actually motivating me to actually play it more vanilla. But I've seen Kanto enough times through and through that I was kind of hoping for a different way to experience it. Luckily, the game actually has a third option that I don't see anyone explore that kind of fits what I'm looking for perfectly. I forget exactly what it's called, like, I think it's modernized, but it's like in between classic and randomized. And essentially it just like expands the Pokedex, so you find, like in Route 1, I was finding Pokemon like Jinx and Pokemon from other generations throughout the entire game, giving me a few more options to do fusions with without doing anything too crazy, like the possibility of finding legendary Pokemon on Route 1 or something. I'm still not very far in the game. I haven't even been in the second gym, so I don't really see myself doing multiple playthroughs, but I'm not opposed to doing a second playthrough in the future as a randomized playthrough if I feel so desperate to play more of the game once I actually beat it. I've seen how much post-game it has. Infinite Fusion is big. Like, it's... I don't want... Without spoiling anything, I'm just saying, it's big. I'm mostly just caught off guard because one of the extra features of the Modern Edition, or the modern gameplay style, I don't know which would be more appropriate to say, but point being, some of the gyms actually have different types. And the game doesn't do a good job telling you about this. You just have to remember that in the opening scene when you're selecting your gameplay option that it mentions that, oh, by the way, we're going to change some of the gym leader types to be different. Misty's now an ice type, and that just completely screwed me over because I have 0 Pokemon on my team that are good against ice types, so I pretty much get bodied by Misty every time I attempt her. And the worst part is that they changed the way the game works slightly, so I think you have to beat Misty before you can move on to Vermilion City, even if you do the whole Nugget Bridge side quest first. It's like, essentially it's because the way my team is formatted, the only Pokemon that I have that are strong against ice are also weak against ice. Because I have a steel type, but it's also part ground. And I have a rock type, but it's also part flying. So Misty's gym just bodies me because they changed it from water to ice. And there isn't really too many good fire options, even with the expanded assortment of Pokemon to collect. So far, the only fire type I've ran into is Magby, and I can't really find a good Pokemon to fuse it with, because I'm trying to play the game, like, using Pokemon fusions that I like, and not just what's efficient. Which is a problem because this game is significant. This game's... I don't know if it's significantly harder than a normal Pokemon game, but it does feel harder. And it feels a little, even to the point of feeling a little too hard. And now I'm playing on normal. I'm sure if I didn't lose my interest in Pokemon after like Ultra Sun and Moon, I would be one of those people that would appreciate the difficulty. But because I feel like I'm not as in tune to Pokemon as I used to be, I think the harder difficulty kinda screws me over. I wouldn't move over to easy, but the option to change that difficulty is all the way in Peter City. And I don't know if I feel like backtracking, even though they're nice enough to give you the option to backtrack all the way from Cerulean to Peter City, because Mount Moo's no longer one way. That's still quite a long a backtrack. And from what I've seen, the only thing that's different between normal and easy is that the experience share all is a thing. Which, what extra sucks, you know what? I was hesitant to rant about this because I was afraid that people would give me flack for it, but screw it. I don't like the fact that you can't, that you're so limited with the difficulty options. Like, sure you can change them, but you can only change down, so like you can go from normal to easy, but you can't go back from easy to normal. And I don't like that. Like, I thought we're past that time in gatekeeping in video game difficulty. At the end of the day though, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I just see no point in it. And it really sucks because as I was gonna say, the only difference I see between easy and normal is that the modern gen experience share all is in easy mode, which bugs me in way more ways than it should. It just doesn't feel like something that you should be shamed for by slapping you with an easy mode marker just for using it. It doesn't really feel like it makes the game, I don't know, it doesn't really feel like it would make the game that much easier. It just would make it more fun because you would actually be able to experiment around with more Pokemon and more types of fusions. Not that I would know if it made it any easier or not, because I'm hesitant to try it out, because once I do, there's no way for me to go back to normal mode without completely resetting my entire playthrough, and it is just a mindset that I apparently have that's different from the mindset other people have, and it's just, I gotta embrace that different people think differently, and I'm not the one that made the game. It's kind of just a miracle that I've been enjoying Pokemon XG as much as I have, because that was made to be significantly harder too, but I think just because I'm so in tune with the Shadow Pokemon mechanics, because that was my childhood and one of my favorite games in the entire series, I don't mind challenging that as much. Meanwhile, with Infinite Fusion, I'm going into it for the funny Pokemon fusions and all the cool custom art that people have made of various different Pokemon fusions in the game. And surely I'm not the only one who feels that way. I don't know, maybe I'm making a bigger deal out of it than it is. If easy mode, if it really is the only difference between easy and normal mode is the experience share all, then who really gives a damn if I go easy mode? I think just the factor that I can't go back if I find that it's too easy scares me a bit, and I don't understand why you would limit the player from that in the first place. Especially if you give them the option to swap at all in the middle of a playthrough. I think it's just me being more casual than the intended audience for this sort of game. Especially as I want to move on, I feel like I've been nagging and being too negative towards Infinite Fusion despite how overall I feel it's a good game. So let me go a little bit on more on the things that I've seen of the game that I like. I mean, HMs are back, but they actually do the system well. Not only are they a hindrance to your move slot because you can remove them and relearn them at any time, but eventually you find certain side quests you can take on in the game that give you the ability to use the HM move without actually teaching it to an HM Pokemon. For example, one of the earliest ones you get is Cut, and there's a side quest where you cut some trees for an old man, and he gives you a literal pickaxe or an axe in general. Actually, no, it's tweezers. It's not even a literal axe. But it's a tool that you can use to cut trees without teaching cut to one of your Pokemon. But you do have to use the cut as an HM first. I just think it's a fair compromise between having HMs and not having HMs. Who knows, maybe I'll warm up to it more as I play more of it. I'm kind of wondering if I just put it aside to focus on getting into some other games. Like, there's a couple indie games from 2023 I realized that I wanted to try but never even bought, let alone tried them out. And there is that other Pokemon fan game that I've been really excited to play. I'll be honest, the only reason I haven't played it yet was because I was originally planning on it being a possible playthrough that I could do after finishing Pokemon XG. But that's been taking so long, and then the sickness just kicked in. I'm really on the fence of just playing it on my own, if only to see how I like it before doing any sort of videos or streaming with it. I've only seen a little bit of it on another channel a long time ago, and I haven't seen anyone cover it since. It's a shame because, like, it looks really cool, so I got no idea why I haven't caught on. But my biggest problem with Pokemon XG isn't the game at all, but the fact that I had to wait until I could record to play it, especially with how much the technical difficulties of getting it running stopped me from recording it as much as I could. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure half those issues that would stop me from recording another episode would be a complete non-factor if I was playing it on my own time. So I don't know, I'm kind of starting to wonder if I should just play this on my own, and if I really like it, I could revisit it for a future playthrough, or at least make like a one-off review talking about it or something. I don't know. That's so far in the future, especially with everything going on currently, stopping me from recording and commentating to finish up the playthrough series that I've already started. But I don't want to dwell on the negatives. What's something positive that I can end things off on? Oh yeah, as I'm recording this, Rowlet Community Day happened not too long ago. Like, as I'm recording this, it was the other day. Big reason why I didn't think I was going to be able to stream this week, even if I was feeling better, because yesterday was kind of a busy day. I just got up, went out and took care of grocery shopping, because I haven't been out grocery shopping for quite a few weeks because of the whole sick thing. And I was finally starting to feel better enough to do it, so even though I knew I was already going to be out to walk for this community day, I decided to get the grocery shopping done and over with anyway. And they were so close together, I basically grocery shopped, went home, had lunch for half an hour, went back, was still late for community day because I procrastinated on the phone watching videos of the Undertale Delta Traveler, I think it's the name of the fan game. Haven't played that one, but it's been a guilty pleasure, especially for killing time during work, where I need something to get my mind off how tedious the work is so I can just focus on doing the work as efficiently as possible. And you know, it's not fair to call it a guilty pleasure. The developers of that fan game put a lot of effort into it, and it shows. It's just not one that I'm probably going to get around to playing anytime soon. Mostly because I typically don't play Undertale fan games. Yellow is an exception, but for the most part I'm just content watching videos on them whenever they show up on my feed, if only to help make the workday go by faster. But yeah, Rowlet Community Day. I did miss a little bit, but barely more than like 15 minutes. And I pretty much made up for it by walking the entire time. Usually, I typically on average do 2 hours-ish of a community day. But I guess because Rowlet was such a nice Pokemon and such a nice shiny, I decided to stay out the entire 3 hours and just walk. And I had a good place to walk too. Nice blend of stops and actual natural scenery. And got a nice assortment of shiny Rowlets, and essentially emptied my entire supply of Pokeballs in the game in the process. Granted, I think it was like 25 or so. It might even be 24 because somehow during in between coming back from the grocery store and going out again for Community Day, I actually got a shiny Seedot. That was a weird, funny, silly surprise. I think it was right in the car as I was getting ready to go out too. Just happened to check the Pokemon that were nearby before I started putting the groceries away. So on one hand, it didn't feel like a lot of shinies for 3 hours of gameplay in hindsight, but in the moment it felt like I was getting a lot of shinies. I think a big part was I pretty much got 3 shiny Rowlets within like the first 5 minutes of playing, if even that. But then again, what am I gonna do with 20 shiny Rowlets? Usually I just hoard all the shinies I get from Community Days into Pokemon Home, and if I'm ambitious enough, Wonder Trade them away, or try to use them as leverage to get some of the more obscure Pokemon for my Pokedex collection. Or at least obscure for me, as someone who just played Scarlet and Violet to the credits and had zero interest in actually going after any of the legendary Pokemon in that game. But yeah, it was a real good walk. I have apps that track my steps, and I believe I got over 13,000 steps just walking around the park during that Community Day. And I just happened to start heading back when it started to snow. In fact, I don't even think I made it to the car before it started snowing, but I made it to the car before it started coming down hard. Don't think I left before it started coming down hard, but despite that, the drive back wasn't too bad, and that's what really matters. Okay, this was a fun talk and all, but I can feel my voice caving out, or didn't cough too bad, but definitely just had one cough I had to cut out not too long ago, and I can hear the strain. I don't really feel strain in my voice, but I can definitely hear strain in my voice now. So thank you all for tuning in for this edition of Game N Chill. Hopefully this won't be too bad commentary, but if it is, hopefully you can understand why. Hoping, very hopefully, by next month, by the next time this thing comes around, I'll be feeling much better. Until then though, take care.